Okay, it's about to start. Hello, everyone. Okay, I see people are just joining us. Thank you very much for everyone who's joining us. We really appreciate you guys coming through. We're gonna give it up a minute or two for everyone else to join. We are in Africa. Haylee, do you know anything about African timing?
I know it's late.
Yes.
So
content will be worth it.
It's a bad concept, but we say in Africa, you never arrive on time for a meeting, because then if you arrive on time for a meeting, you're too early. But I mean, it's a joke. It's changing now. We certainly, make sure that we are professional in whatever we do. So I'm going to give it 1 more minute for everyone else to join. It's 6:01 on my side. For those that have joined us, thank you very much for joining us, guys. We really appreciate it. As you can see, we're still working from home. So, I'm actually starting to love this working from home thing. I might do it for longer than this afterwards. I think as we're joining in, we'd like to know where everybody is joining us from. So just mention the country where you're joining us from. We want to be able to greet you actually where you're coming from. And maybe I'll try and greet you with your country's language that I know.
Sure.
Who knows? I've been learning a few words. So just letting us, okay, South Africa, India. Okay, India has a lot of languages, so really I can't even try into India. So welcome from India. Really appreciate you coming, joining us through. Fantastic. Okay, so we've got 2 hours now. I mean, it's now 6:02. I'm gonna begin. So guys, thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And depending on where you're joining us from, whether it's good morning to you, whether it's good evening, whether it's good afternoon, whether it's even at night, thank you very much. We really appreciate you joining us. Mm-hmm. And we know that you're going to find value out of this webinar. Every single time we've had a webinar and people, afterwards they email us, they're like, wow, absolutely amazing. And I think one of the things I love about our webinars is that we always make sure, or we try and make sure that when people leave the webinar, immediately afterwards they can go in and apply things and change already their sales lives. So really looking forward to having everyone who's here being impacted. And of course, what we normally do just before we end the webinar, a minute or two, maybe 3 minutes before we end the webinar, we normally just talk about what we do as a business. Of course, we would like everybody just to understand a bit more about what we have as our services, and maybe someone could see what they could, maybe want from us. But, if you don't have to rush off, please give us 2 more minutes before we end the call. If you have to go, that's still fine. And I want to just say this. So this webinar will be shared on our podcast, where it will be available for everyone to see. It's normally shared at least a day afterwards. So tomorrow around this time, if you go to our channel on YouTube, you will have found this recording of the webinar. Okay, now that I got that out of the way, this is now something more exciting. So this webinar is titled "How to Start Conversations and Book Meetings Using Video." And it may seem like a new concept for some of us, but we've got Haylee here, who is from Clozeloop, our partner in San Francisco, but she's now based in Tennessee, right?
In Nashville.
Nashville. Yeah. We have last seen Haylee about a year ago when we were in San Fran. But Haylee has been doing video longer than us, and at the moment she's the account executive for Clozeloop, but she's been involved in one of the fastest growing companies in the world, where she was training the salespeople and the company on how they could utilize video to book meetings. So it's almost like she knew what was going to happen before, and she started, telling guys to be ready before this time, came through. So we're really privileged to have on board. Thank you very much, Haylee, for waking up early for us to come through and have this webinar. We really appreciate it.
We appreciate that.
Of course. And of course, I've got my partner in crime, Shayna.
Hi, everyone.
Shayna is the coach of coaches here in South Africa. She's the one that's responsible to coach a lot of the sales guys in Africa and especially in South Africa to really help them on how they can get their teams to work better and to be able to really move and do better in terms of sales. So I normally just step away from this and I let Shayna run with everything here. But what I wanted to say is that as we're doing this, please, for those who've got questions, please drop them there on your on the chats. As soon as you've got you have them there, I will then share them and we can then share them back with Haylee. But if for some reason for today there's no question that you have, but later on you do have it, please again just email me. Look out for me on LinkedIn, for Haylee, for Shayna. We'll all be more than glad to try and assist you where we can possibly assist you. Shayna, over to you.
Cool. Happy Tuesday, everyone, whatever time zone you're all in. Cool. So Haylee, yay. It's wonderful to finally see you again. As we said, it was almost a year ago. And today we're talking about how we utilize video to prospect and engage with people in more creative and human ways, because obviously our working environments has changed so much. When I was working and still am working as a sales professional, I know like with cold calling and calling, and we had daily activities and processes that we needed to follow in order to gain success and traction in terms of prospecting and engaging with new people to find out whether there was a fit for us going forward. Cold calling was working. Would you say now that because the working environments is changing so much, would you say that maybe video would be at all in the future replacing cold calling in your perspective?
I think for plenty of teams it has. A number of companies who specialize in selling into IT or maybe like an operations team who don't publicly give out their cell phone number and their email signature. Their only option was their office phone, and they haven't figured out a way with us working from home to connect those. So for a lot of folks I'm talking to, video has been the only thing to cut through email, and maybe using video on social media like LinkedIn or even in your email is what's allowing them to stand out and is definitely replacing the time and energy they would have spent on cold calling.
Would you say then, as an SDR moving forward or an AE and account executive nowadays, that it's quite important, like in terms of the activity scope? I mean, now more and more today, we got to be more creative with what the world throws at us, with what the working environment throws at us. Are you currently kind of exploring with the cold calling / the video? How is it kind of working in your world at this point?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think if COVID has taught us anything, it's how to adapt. And similar, when you're an SDR, you know that you can do the same activities every day and have a different output. So something I found really important is to keep doing the things that work and measure that activity. And as you find things like cold calling or even mass email campaigns, anything it may be that's not once producing the same result as it had before, you need to run some tests. So, I mean, at any given moment, I'm constantly testing 8 different email campaigns with A/B tests, and I'm sending different types of videos, or I'm using books to message out to clients. But it's key that I'm doing the things that I know that have worked in the past, but I'm also constantly experimenting with what's new, because there's plenty of us SDRs out there, and we're all competing for meetings. So we have to be different and stand out.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it's amazing because it kind of, if anything, COVID's taught us is about the human touch points and like how we interact with humans, because when we send out mass email campaigns, there's no guarantee that we're going to get a return back on that. In your working experience, in terms of like the A/B tests that you're running, like what are 1 or 2 things that you would start like shifting maybe to the left or tweaking just a little just to see how that traction is? Because often we get impatient and we want to get our results immediately, and then we go and change the whole wheel. But how do we just consistently tweak so that we know and we can measure that success?
That's a great question. I think it's similar to email. So if you're going to change a variable of your email, for me, it's oftentimes the title of the video that I'll give it. For a long time, it was just hi first name. So like hi Shayna was working for months. And then suddenly I was talking to more and more people and telling them this was working, and it didn't have the same effect. So now I'm trying titles like thanks for connecting Shayna, or great to meet you Shayna. So I'm just constantly testing titles. I think that's a great variable to look at. The opener, I tend to stay pretty consistent on, mostly because I know that it's some 80% of decision makers. So anyone with a title of director level or higher is only going to watch the first 15 seconds to decide if they're going to keep watching. So you don't have that much time. So I find I'll use a very specific statement at the beginning that I know tried and true to work. But sometimes another variable I'll throw in is the end. So like the ending statement of giving a call to action, never really to book a meeting, but sometimes like a different offer. So if you've got different options like a webinar or a podcast or a book you can give away, these are the kinds of things that I'll do run tests with.
Awesome. And I suppose, sorry,
Shay.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
I like to jump in there. But I think that's very important because I mean, I've seen this throughout my whole sales career. Once you start doing something right, doing something, and everybody else is start doing what you were doing. And from what I've seen, everybody else who's a coach or sales trainer goes and trains everybody the same way that, you know, it's been working. And so it's important for myself as somebody who's involved in my own business as an SDR or an AE to always test for my own self, you know, without having to wait for somebody else to actually do that for me. Yeah.
Great point.
Yeah.
Good. And and normally, Haylee, would you recommend like a call to action? You just keep it to one specific thing. So people, because we've got to be clear and concise. We don't have a lot of time to speak to our prospect, engage to see whether there's an interest from their side. So it's pretty important, would you say, to keep one call to action, or do you say many?
You're right in that. Yeah, you need to do one. And ideally think about the goal of the video and what you want them to do before you even start recording. So if your goal is to get a response for them to reply to your email, which has all this additional context, you don't need to restate everything that's in the email, right? So you could just get very clear and to the point. I sent you an email on this date and time, looking to hear back from you. Did you have any questions on that? And leaving it that simple. Other times, if you haven't had a conversation start yet, like you said, just give one offer and make it something that you would want to receive yourself. So the more you can apply it to your own psychology of would I respond to this video, the better off you'll be for the type of CTA you give.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And obviously, and I know that there was just a question that came through, and obviously today, like we're talking about video in terms of a prospecting, and I just want to clarify because obviously there's a lot of video content that's going out there in the world at this point in time. And so what we're speaking about specifically is Haylee herself or myself as Shayna or Spoo creating a video to engage with the prospect via LinkedIn. So Haylee, if I wanted to start today in order to like film a video and I have a smartphone, could you maybe talk me through the steps of like, what do I need to do in order to make that video?
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I think there's a number of different apps you can use. I think last time I checked, there was 180 phone apps that you can download if you record. Yeah. And to socially send videos. So it's only growing. If you're using LinkedIn, they have a great video tool just right from their mobile app. So you can go on there, click record, and I think they'll let you go up to 45 seconds, which we ran thousands of tests on this and looked at data, and you definitely want to keep your video under 45 seconds, ideally under 30 seconds, and just record that video directly from LinkedIn, and then it'll send right there, and you can see when someone views it.
Cool. So on my phone, I can pick up my smartphone, go into my LinkedIn app, use the app, push record, and begin my video.
Yeah, right from LinkedIn. And I mean, it's the same as if you're going to use your regular camera on your phone. You could do the same thing if you wanted to test out video and text message campaigns. That would be another option as well.
Cool. And in terms of this process, so we're going to start right at the beginning, guys, just in terms of like for the purpose of this webinar. So we begin with our first video. Typically, Haylee, what would that kind of look like? What are the core elements that, you know, behind the scenes, during and after, are we kind of like trying to build out here?
Well, 30 seconds is not much time. I'll say that. I have A/B tested that's something else's background. So I'll oftentimes use like my virtual background like I have here, because that would make someone be more interested to click on the GIF picture. So you're seeing like a preview of the video, and that would make someone click. Something else I've seen work really great is being on their company's website. So you can put yourself hovering over their website, and it gives them this feeling of like, this video is made for me and I need to watch it to figure out what she's going to say. Other thing is to be on their LinkedIn profile, but I'll A/B test using just me versus having a virtual background to gather and gauge interest to see if it actually is their company that they'd want to click on.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And so if we're 30 seconds, how would you begin and what would your message be for a prospect?
Yeah, so I would like to start with a kind of a scan question. So if you're going to go into a conversation, and I'll explain what a scan question is, but if you're going to think about what's going to cause someone to keep watching, we know this from our own buying decisions ourselves. Like, it's rare we're going to keep watching something because it's giving us pleasure. We're more likely to keep watching if we're in pain, which is why everyone likes these murder mystery, I think now.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, we're so fascinated, we have to keep watching and see what's going to happen. So, and a really often or common way I'll start out a video is just like, hey, Shayna, thank you for connecting with me on LinkedIn. I'm talking to tons of sales enablement professionals and they're telling me they're concerned about their lack of resources. They're frustrated they can't be more strategic. And maybe they're anxious that not enough of their team is getting on the same page. None of those are happening over there, are they? And that's the scan question, is using some of those words like stressed, concerned, anxious, frustrated. That's the cause question, excuse me. But
yeah,
that would be the idea. And I'm happy to send over some of those frameworks for anyone who wants to message me on LinkedIn or learn more about how to use those.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then do you leave it just with that question and you wait then to begin, because it's not necessary. We don't want to go in for the kill right away, because then everyone, the reactance of like, oh, it's another sales pitch. What follows on from there?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times I'll leave it at that. If you don't have more context and it's a pretty cold prospect, you don't want to scare anyone away with this 30-second message of you rambling and pitching your product. So you're better off just asking a question, especially if it is on social, right? We want to keep social media platforms free of sales pitching. So the more you can just ask questions and stay curious, the greater likelihood is you will get a response.
Amazing. And
sorry, Shay, there's a question there.
Yes.
And because we're talking about scan now, so somebody was asking that, because we're doing these videos, does that mean that our elevator pitch must be crisp, must be so well, or does it fall away completely? Can I use that as a way in my video?
Yeah, I think that the more human and authentic you can make it, like making a mistake or starting over, is oftentimes fine, as long as you can keep it short. I don't know if that answered your question, Spoo.
I think it did. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. So we're allowed to make mistakes to show that we're human.
Yes. Yes. I've sent so many
important.
videos of a mid cough or mid sneeze, and people are just like, wow, I can't believe you went to the effort of making me this video. And I'm like, it only took me 30 seconds, but yes, you're welcome.
Cool. So
Yeah.
typically that's how long it takes you then to like make, so there's no like long process of getting in a marketing campaigner or a videographer, or sorry, I might be saying the wrong terms, but so we can really just authentically do it ourselves on our phone. If you sneeze, keep it going, because it also connects, because we're all going through this thing together, right?
Yeah, and people have their kids in the background now, or they've got a dog barking in the background. So there's just, I mean, I think the more you can see into someone's genuine personality, the better off you are. And we actually have seen lower response rates when I worked at Drip Video with people that just had this like blank white background, or they were sitting somewhere that looked dark, right? Like, we just want to see humans' faces. We're naturally, just by psychology, more attracted and wanting to engage with someone who's got this interesting background or life going on.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, hey, tell me, for me, a quick one. So I had to shave before this webinar. And my daughter and my wife are not happy about that. But do I have to shave every time I want to do a video?
So this was the test that I was begging to run at my last company. Was our reply rates higher for women that do their hair and their makeup and go to all this effort, or have their hair in a bun, or they're just going to be going this effortless look? We found there was no correlation with people who looked professional, dressed in a suit, shaved their hair. Like there was no correlation with appearance. It had everything to do with body language and tone of voice. And that was ultimately what was improving conversion rates.
Interesting. Okay.
Amazing.
So no spoo.
Every time I'd have to keep it quite cool, like, oh, we've changed. Okay, yes. Or maybe just be like, wow, your hair looks amazing. I love how we're swapping the roles. Yes. So Haylee, we also speak, and we know, like, we're all trying to be masters in our craft, and we speak about mastery. You know, and when we look at mastery, we break it down, especially at Clozeloop and SEC. It's kind of the pillars of what we base all of our activities and the way that we work around the three. What would you, and so it's mindset, activity, and then our skill set. What would you say before you're making your video, the correct mindset would have to like move into before you film, like what your objective is, what, you know, if you could talk us through that, please.
Yeah, absolutely. I think mindset is probably the most key part of mastery when it comes to video, because you're really putting yourself out there. So if you go into a mindset of, oh, I've got to go make all of these prospecting videos and it just sounds like so much work, the outcome of your video is probably going to look like you had no idea or reason why you were making this video, and your prospect will see that because it's your face.
Yeah.
So the best part about thinking about your mindset is just going into it and thinking of, I'm not making this video to book a meeting. I'm using this video to start a conversation. So go into it with that mindset and asking the question of what you want the outcome to be, and think positively that thing will happen.
Cool.
Yeah.
Super.
And then in terms of the A for the activity, like what is normally your ratio? Like how many videos, you know, sometimes, so we have a conversion ratio that we refer to in sales. We like, if we make 20 cold calls, from 20 cold calls, we'll know we can book 4 meetings. What would your ratio be in terms of the video and prospecting?
I would say it varied depending on who you were selling to. Sales and marketers tend to be, the conversion rates tend to be a bit higher. Selling into industries like IT or cybersecurity, things that are a bit more technical, like if you're making a video for an engineer, they tend to be a bit lower. And that's just because those people aren't spending as much time looking at their email, looking at their social media. So if you can safely make 10 videos a day, you should expect at least 1 to convert into a conversation by the end of the week. That's very modest. Like yesterday, I made 3 videos and all 3 of them converted, and that's rare, but it happens. So you just have to, thank you. Yeah, it was great. So yeah, that's where you have to be thinking is, I should make 10 every day, and with the goal of at least having 1 conversation this week, but you could have more than that, and you may not have any from that, but you just have to keep testing.
Okay. And what's on that, Shay? Sorry, I have a question here, which is like a follow-up to this. So, if for some reason you make the video the first time and there's no response, do you use your video again for your follow-up, or to try it again to reach out to the client?
I've seen people send the same video, LinkedIn and email, because they didn't get it watched on LinkedIn, and so they wanted to try again. And I think it ends up coming off salesy depending on the message, and you really just want to sound curious. Like the whole reason I make videos is because I want to show someone I'm human and I'm looking to engage with them, versus I have something to sell and I want to talk to you about it. So I would recommend against it. I've only heard of, I mean, I talked to thousands of salespeople, and I've only heard of maybe 2 or 3 people that had success with sending it the same video on multiple channels. So I would stick to 1 channel. And if you do need to have a touch point with a customer that's not on one of those channels you already sent from, make a new video.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
Super.
And in terms of if you don't get a response from, let's just say you send out, you know, in a week, you send out, if we got 10 videos a day, so it's 50 videos in a week. Would you leave those prospects for a while and then return back to that, or do you just move on? Because obviously we need to focus on our target market and what the ideal customer looks like, but what would you recommend in that case?
Yeah, I think you should look at your target account list and seeing how many accounts you're going after. For me, if I'm going after an account, I'll typically send videos to 3 people at that account, maybe 5. But if I'm going to be spending 5 minutes to make those 3 videos, then I'll want to have probably 4 to 5 touch points after that, just asking if they saw the video. And it's not a breakup, right? Because it's not like used like an email where I'm saying, oh yeah, you didn't watch my video, so you must not be interested. I'm trying to go veer the opposite direction by rather instead engaging with their content, like liking or commenting on their recent posts, in the hopes that they'll then be like, who is this person? And eventually go back, look at my message and see that, oh, Haylee sent me a video. So there are multiple touch points that would come after that. And I just think of that as, like you said, a tracker for the types of touches you're going to do after you send the video.
For sure. And I think it's also really important to always remember, like, don't get too emotionally invested or take it personally, because as much as we're making that human connection, we're also just trying to ask a question, and some people just really don't need what we're offering, and so we move on. And other times people do, and it's, you know, it's just as soon as we start protecting ourselves in that way, and we in both of our worlds, or all three of our worlds, refer to status, scale. It's just, you know, it's one of those things of like, we've done this, especially if we've set up that A/B testing in the right way, we can see and we can get those yes or no's quite quickly in the beginning. Cool.
So Haylee, I also have another question now. So we've got sales leaders here, right? But also we've got sales people and sales leaders. If I'm a sales leader and I'm hearing this and I want to try it out for my team, you know, does it mean I must now go back to the office tomorrow and say, hey guys, no more cold calls, less emails, more videos? How do I track that? I mean, how do I see the quality of what they're doing? You know, all those things. How do I make sure that what I think what they're saying here, I can actually take it and actually apply in my own team and see the results?
Yeah, I think video still is pretty manual when it comes to tracking for managers. So you are right about that in terms of how you can go see, we've dropped our cold call dials and we've not been sending as many emails. So where are these videos you're supposedly sending? There are some enterprise grade software products that allow for tracking and will copy over into your CRM, things like that. But I think the best thing to do is use accountability on your team, either by having something like a instant message channel where the team can drop in their video and say, hey, I just sent this. I have no idea if it's going to work, but this is the persona I sent it to. We should all try sending this. So keeping up motivation with the team members themselves who are actually making the videos is what I've seen prove out the best results. And then for sales managers, you should record videos too. The best way to get your team to do video is by sending the video first thing in the morning, maybe with your stand-up or wherever it may be, but just showing your team that you are doing it yourself.
That's cool.
I like that. Okay.
Yeah,
right.
That's lovely.
That's today's my takeaway. Okay.
Go
What would you say are like some core elements to a really good video?
Some core elements. I think that I kind of mentioned a couple of them already, but body language and tone, we've seen produce the highest conversion rates. That 15-second opener, so making that really relevant and keeping it interesting. I've seen way too many videos that say, hi, Shayna, I'm making you this video because I saw that you work at the sales enablement company and you're interested in sales enablement. So I thought I'd make you this video. And well, we do this, and this is how we can help you, right? And you're just like, I have no idea how many of these they made for how many people. It feels completely impersonal. Whereas if you just really get into the subject matter in the first 15 seconds, I'd say that opener is like the #1 reason why someone's going to be engaged with you and actually have any of the video convert to a meeting or a conversation. A couple other things to keep in mind are relevance. So if you can offer a solution to a specific pain that viewer likely has based on what you know about them and their persona, that's a really great way to keep them watching. And then the call to action. I know we talked about this several times already, but one that I've known to be tried and true is thanking the viewer for watching. So like, thanks, Shayna, for watching. Would love to get your feedback. And if you would like to chat sometime, I've included my calendar link. Feel free to book some time with me. And otherwise, just appreciate you taking the time to watch. and people really respond well to that. So I would write that one down and steal that one.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
got it.
And for each prospect, obviously, I see there was a question that came through as well. Like each video is pretty much personalized for a Haylee. Then I'd make something more personal for a Spoo, and etc. Is that what you're recommending?
I think for today's topic of conversation of like how to book meetings, that's key. Plenty of marketers are using video, and they can outreach like with the same video to 10 people within an account. But for salespeople who are making the effort of reaching out to individuals, I would say video content needs to be personalized.
Yeah, I think that's really key as well.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure everybody on this webinar receives a lot of LinkedIn messages anyway. So to get one that's specifically for you, you know, it really can make an impact when you're looking at somebody who's trying to reach out to you. I would give the person, you know, my time to know what they have to, at least to say, because they spend time doing the video anyway. For me, absolutely like that.
And something else that's terrifying is how great LinkedIn automation has gotten with messaging. Like you can write this perfectly tailored message for a persona and send it automatically to tens, hundreds of people. And it sounds like it's written for you, but like a lot of those people, like you mentioned, Spoo, who have received like thousands of these messages, they know that it's automated, so they're less likely to reply. Video is still that one thing that we've been sending for, I think, 8 years now. Video, like this idea of one-to-one personalized videos has been around, and it's still working. So it definitely stands out, and you can tell it's not just a bulk message.
And as a greeting, you can wave, you could, you know, like there's so many ways that for you, because I suppose the most important thing is for us to be comfortable in this engagement, because if we're not comfortable, definitely it's that cringe. I don't know if anyone else experiences this, but whenever embarrassing moments happen in a movie or in a series, I kind of have to pause if I can, or like take a moment, because I'm feeling that pain as well. So I suppose it's the same thing. As soon as my flow, and as you said, my mindset of like, I'm just having a conversation. I'm not here to kill, like going for the kill immediately and sell. It's just, we're trying to see if it's all good.
Yeah. The body language, like you said, is key. Like some people are like, do I have to wave or do I have to do a big cheesy smile? And I'm like, no, if that's not authentic to you, you should just be who you are, and people will understand that through the further, like the ongoing messaging that you have with them. But if a smile and a wave is what you would do when you saw this person on the street, then sure, you might as well do it in a video.
Absolutely. Fantastic.
Super.
Haylee, I have loved having this conversation and gaining insights from you. From my side, in terms of what I wanted to learn about, I am
so the question.
Yes, and I was going to say, Spoo, okay. I'm going to hand over to you right now. Spoo, please ask the questions that have been coming through from the chat so we can, and guys, if you have any other questions, please just post them so we can get you the information you are also looking for.
Yes, guys, we are closing down. So if you do have questions, please just send them through now before we officially close down. So Elizabeth is asking, so outside using videos for LinkedIn and email, where else could you use the videos to actually prospect? Any ideas, Haylee?
Yeah, I think that I've seen success with Twitter, oddly enough. That tends to be a place where your company, that your target account list has a presence. You could reach out to decision makers that follow that account. Another one you could test is text message campaigns with the GIF preview. So someone doesn't just see a link, but they see like your face. That could really be a great reason to click. And if a text message catches them off guard, it might just be at the right second. So I would recommend text message as well.
Wow, super. Okay, so I think to close it off, Haylee, from my side, if tomorrow I want to go and implement this, so number one, I must make sure that I'm in the correct mindset. I must be human, and I must at least have the correct tonality and the good body language, and I must just be myself in making the video. Whether I make a mistake or don't make a mistake, as long as it's a good one and it's for me, it's for the prospect, I can go ahead and do this.
Yeah, and if it helps to plan out the question you're going to ask or what you're going to say in advance, like a lot of people find it helpful to just write out a script. Just writing it down helps you memorize what you're going to say. Try not to put it up on your screen is what I would recommend, because oftentimes people can tell you're reading, but or you can sort of prepare mentally for it, the better off you'll be. But the best advice I have is just do it. Just try it, because the more time you spend thinking about it, probably the less genuine you're going to come off in your video, because it will look rehearsed.
Super.
Yeah.
Before you go, here's a very good question, and I like it because I worry about it as well, right? How much should I be worried about my video quality, like, you know, the lighting and all that?
Well, the cheapest lighting is the sun. So I just tell people sit next to a window. People are investing in these like circular lights, and they've got these extravagant setups. I just sit next to a window, or I'll go outside even and record these videos, because I can do it from my phone. And as long as someone can see your face and they're not just staring at some dark background and they can't understand what this video is, then you're probably doing just fine. I wouldn't worry about it too much.
Fantastic.
Great stuff. Super. Haylee, thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate it. And we know the stuff works, because that's how we've grown our business. You know, that's what we've been doing from our side. As soon as COVID, actually just before COVID-19 hit, we were already doing videos. So we know it works. It's part of our training, so because we want our clients as well to be able to use them. So we know stuff which works. My only request is that everybody who's on this webinar, please go try it out. Please go do it, and you will see the results. But as promised, or as requested, I said, I would like to add at least the last 2 minutes just telling you about what we do as a company. So as you can see behind Haylee's background there's a book called Sales Coach. So one of the things which we found that makes a huge difference when it comes to sales team is how well coached they are. You know, a lot of sales managers don't know how to coach. They either don't know how to coach or they don't coach at all. And this is possibly the cheapest way you can do to impact and change the behavior of a team to get them to succeed. You know, so we want to say to the sales managers, the sales leaders there, we have a book, which email me, I will send it through to you guys. And we want to give it to you guys so that you are able to use the book and apply the methods that you've got here. It's only 5 secrets how to be a sales coach, you know, and again, it's been proven. Once you can coach any team to succeed, they will get better. So before you do any training and you hire those guys who are expensive to come and train and do anything, see if you can coach them yourselves and just follow the right framework to be able to coach them the right way. All right, guys, thank you very much. We really appreciate you guys. We hope you have a good evening, good day. And for you, Haylee, as we begin the day, thank you very much for your time. We truly appreciate it. And by the way, for those who might have questions afterwards, please email them to us. We'll make sure that they go to Haylee and we'll be able to respond back to you guys. Thank you very much.
And also, everyone, it would be amazing if you could just give us some feedback on how your video prospecting journey is going. Absolutely. Just reach out to all 3 of us on LinkedIn and just let us know what's working and how it's all going. It's always so lovely to hear how people can, you know, implement things and see what's working and how it's going. I suppose all of this is just sharing. You know, sometimes we used to think we keep all the secrets close to our heart, but like in sales, we're all in it together, and it's tough in those out in the world at the moment. So the more of the community we empower and grow together, that's always such a fantastic thing to do.
Absolutely. Cool. And if you make a video and you make a mistake and you want somebody to laugh at you, I'm good at that. Just forward it through to me. I'll do the job perfectly.
Thank you both so much for having me.
Thank you, Haylee. It was lovely to see you again. Take care. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Yes, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.